If you want to be shooting low scores, you've got to be hitting your pitch shots close. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the setup and swing fundamentals to make sure you're hitting high, consistent, spinny pitch shots. So to control the length and distance of my pitch shots, I need to make sure I'm giving myself a setup that promotes control over the club. And how that looks different to a normal setup is if I was setting up to hit a full swing here, what I do is set up with my feet nice and wide, my weight 50-50, really good distance away from the ball and ball in the middle of the stance. From here, I'm able to transfer my weight and generate as much speed and power as possible to propel the ball up in the air as far as I can get it. But a pitch shot is more about control than it is about distance. So I need to set up slightly differently to make sure I've got maximum control of the club head. And the way that looks a little bit different is instead of being wide in my stance with the ball in the middle, I'm actually going to stand much, much narrower. I'm going to move the ball forward in my stance slightly, and I'm going to start and finish with a little bit of pressure in my lead leg. The reason this is important is by starting and finishing with a little bit of pressure on my lead leg, I can control my length of backswing and make sure I'm not putting too much power into the shot. It also helps me control my low point, and again, by starting and keeping weight forwards, it makes it much, much easier to strike the ground in the right place. And in order to control distance, we need to first of all make sure we're striking the ball correctly, so this will really help with that. From this narrower stance, what I'm trying to do is grip down the club slightly, and again, anytime my hands are a little bit closer to the club head, I've got way more control of where it's going and I've got way more control of where it's pointing. So gripping down the club slightly is going to give you more control of the club head. Starting and finishing with a little bit of pressure on the lead leg is going to help you control the length of swing. It's also going to help you control your low point. So the swing itself, like we said a second ago, it's really important. As I swing the club back, I'm not moving too much side to side like I would do for a full swing, but I'm keeping a little bit of pressure forwards. And in the through swing, the way this is different from a normal swing, to get the ball higher, to get good turf interaction where the club doesn't dig in, I need to pivot around my lead leg with a really active release of my hand. So it looks a little bit like this. The purpose of this is pivoting around my lead leg means that, again, I'm going to make it much, much easier to strike the ground in the right place. And like we've said before, striking the ground in the right place is the first and most important thing when controlling distance. But by having active hand movement and also playing the ball a touch further forward, like we talked about earlier, I'm presenting much more loft on the club and I'm hitting the ground with conviction, but I'm hitting it with the bottom edge of the club here. The purpose of this is to make sure that the club definitely hits the ground, but it doesn't dig in too much. If we're leading with our hands and we're trying to get a bit of shaft lean like you might be for a full swing iron, we're going to propel the ball too far forwards. The ball's going to come out low, it's not going to come out of much spin, and it's going to be really hard to control the distance and the flight of the ball. But by releasing my hands, what I'm doing is I'm presenting more loft on the club. I'm making sure the club doesn't dig into the ground, so the ball should come out with a little bit more height and it should come out with a little bit more spin. This is going to make it much, much easier to control my distance because where the ball lands is going to be pretty close to where it finishes. But if the ball comes out much too low because I'm driving my hands towards a target, it's going to be hard to predict how the ball bounces when it lands on the green. So, weight starting and finishing on my lead leg, active hand release and pivoting around my lead leg here is going to give me good control on my low point. It's going to present plenty of loft. It's going to mean my pitch shots come out high and spinny and I've got a good chance of stopping them on the green. Again, good pitching and good approach shots is really important if you want a lower score. If you haven't got good control of the club from this distance, then it's going to be really hard to recover from errant tee shots, and it's going to be really hard to capitalise when you do hit a good tee shot and you find yourself close to the green. So by giving yourself the most control over the club head, by setting up the right way, you should be on your way to lower scores.